We're always looking for ways to help you get your kids back to class, and that also means preparing them mentally. Psychiatrist Dr. Victoria Kelly joins us this morning with some ideas. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I think first and foremost, parents, we need to cope with getting back to school.
Yeah, I think as parents, we go through a lot of emotions, and especially with everything we've been through, it's like we're cheering, right? But we're also having a tinge of fear along with that cheer. So I think it's a perfect opportunity right now to really think about how we want to take charge of this back to school season. And, I think one of the biggest things are that we really don't know what's going to happen, these next few months with the Delta variant and things like that. So we learned a lot of lessons from last year's school season. So identify what worked, what didn't. And even though a lot of schools are back in person these days, we definitely need to have a plan for if you're going to be going back to all virtual. And now's the time, the perfect time to be able to plan for those kinds of things.
Yeah, we've already heard from many superintendents who have said, we've got to be flexible, and we have to keep open about that. It could potentially happen. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully, we could stay the course here. But, recovering from the impact of COVID, I think, there was some sadness with that, with some milestones that were missed and everything just being kind of not right last year.
Yeah, and I think the CDC data really shows that the kids were really affected by the quarantine and not being able to be able to socialize in person with their friends. I think the difficulty now is in the summer, it's like we kind of forgot COVID existed and we went about things, and now, it's like, okay, we really do need to be careful that things are still a risk. So it really is that combination of cheering but fear together. So we do still need to remember to protect each other, wear masks, have the healthy hand hygiene and such and things like that as much as possible, so that at least we can do our part to remain in school for this upcoming season.
And I think having a routine is so important, and it helps with all of that. It helps everything go as smoothly as possible, so parents can be working on that right now.
Yeah, 100%. The best time is probably about 1 to 2 weeks before school starts, so that you can start to segue your child back into the school routine. And probably the biggest thing affected with that is sleep. I don't know about your kids, but my kids, they took advantage of the summertime.
Sure.
And, so we really do. About every day, you want to creep the bedtime up about a half hour until they get to the time that they're going to be needing to have to get ready for school time. And really establish those school routines again, and make sure that your homeschool area is ready, again, for homework, but also just in case things go virtual again.
Yeah, and setting those boundaries with electronics too, because I think that may have gotten a little bit out of hand with the pandemic, and maybe during the summertime too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really a struggle that I think we all deal with, even as adults, let alone with children. But the ACAP, and pediatrics and child psychiatry organizations do say that we really should try to have boundaries. For small children, shouldn't really have any. And about 2 to 5 year olds, 1 hour per weekday max, or 3 hours on weekend days. And then once you hit school age at about 6, it's mostly about developing healthy habits, because it's unavoidable. And then I think the other important thing is with those boundaries with electronics, to try to have them at home also. And don't forget, screen time, the blue screens from electronics can also affect sleep. So you want to definitely turn those screens off at least 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime, so that you really can get that good sleep.
As you said, that is so important. I think another thing that overwhelms us mentally is that school life balance, that there's so many activities, and our kids want to be involved in everything, and we want to give them everything too.
Yes. And, sometimes we may scoff at, as adults, we struggle with work-life balance. What does a kid have to be stressed about?
Yeah.
But the reality is children are stressed, and they have a lot of things they have to balance too. So that school-life balance really is important for wellness. So try not to overschedule your child, because actually what the data shows is that there's increased rates of depression and anxiety if a child is in more than 3 hours per week of scheduled activities. And downtime is so important. important because our brains, our developing brains, actually require it. In that downtime, our brain decides which neuronal pathways to strengthen, which ones to let go away. So playtime and downtime actually is really important. And a moderate level, not a high, but a moderate level of scheduled activities has been shown to contribute to a better GPA and a sense of belonging. So you really want to try to limit it to about no more than about 2 weekly commitments, if at all possible.
So our kids are allowed to be bored. It's okay. It's good for them.
Exactly.
What about connecting with our kids and how important is that? And at what level should we be? I feel like those teenagers are like, get away.
Yes, absolutely. Around age 13 is when the parental avoidance starts to kick in. But I think this really is a time when parents can step up their game. Over the summer, we may have thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait for my kids to go back to school. But again, it's an opportunity to take an active role in your child's development. And school is one of the biggest places for social and emotional development. So the things on the screen here that you can see: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and developing relationship skills and responsible decision-making are all very important for your child's future sense of self-esteem and ability to function within society. So, when you go and your kid comes home from school and you say, how was school today? And they just say, fine. So we may need to get a little creative in how we ask these things. So try to ask more specific questions like, what was your favorite part of the day? What was the worst part? Who did you sit with at lunch? To get a little more creative to help open the doorway so that they're actually going to talk to you.
Even my 3-year-old is like, how was school today? I played. Okay, well, give me more, right?
Yes.
So we have to use our language a little bit better and stretch those skills. Great advice and tips for parents this morning. As it is going to be another maybe potentially challenging year. We hope it won't be, but we want to give those tools to parents as best we can. So thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Yep, take care. Well, thank you for making Toledo